Have you ever walked into a room, perhaps during a family gathering, and felt the conversation quiet down? Just for a second? Or maybe you've caught a glance from a grandchild, a look that you just couldn't quite decipher. It's a feeling many of us know, but few of us ever talk about. I want to tell you that feeling is not your imagination. As we journey through our golden years, we sometimes develop little habits, seemingly innocent habits that quietly begin shaping a narrative about yes. A narrative that isn't true. A story that whispers you're tired, you're frail, or worse, that your voice doesn't matter as much anymore. And here's the quiet nightmare no one talks about. These tiny, unnoticed actions can lead to you being gently pushed to the sidelines of your own life, even by the people who love you most. But what if I told you that these habits are not a life sentence of aging? As a doctor who has spent over 3 decades sitting with and listening to adults over 60, I've seen a powerful truth. These are not signs of decline. They are simply quiet signals. Signals you can change in an instant. I'll never forget a patient of mine. Let's call him John. A brilliant retired engineer, sharp as a tack. But his children had begun speaking for him, making small decisions about his life as if he weren't there. The issue wasn't his mind. It was a handful of these very habits we're about to discuss. Once we addressed them, the dynamic in his family completely transformed. So, in today's video, we will break down 9 of these common habits. But more than that, I will arm you with the simple, free, and immediate adjustments to help you reclaim the respect, confidence, and vitality you rightfully deserve. And please, be sure to watch all the way to the end. Because the 9th and final habit is one I have personally seen influence how a family treats their loved one during critical health decisions. It's information everyone should have. Everything I'm about to share isn't from a textbook. It's from thousands of real conversations, with real people, just like you. Before we dive in, I truly want to know how many of us have felt this. If what I've just described resonates with you, that feeling of being misunderstood is familiar, please take a moment to comment a simple yes below. It lets me know you understand, and it shows others in this community that they are not alone. Alright, let's start with the first habit, the one that sets the stage for everything else. Number 1. Poor posture. It's the unconscious slump of the shoulders as you read the newspaper, the slight forward lean of the head when you walk, the downcast gaze that becomes second nature. It seems so minor, doesn't it? But from a purely mechanical standpoint, when you slouch, you are physically compressing your lungs. It limits their ability to take in a full, deep breath of air. And the science is very clear on this. Less oxygen means less energy. It's a direct line to feeling more tired than you actually are. The core reason this becomes more pronounced as we age is that the very muscles in our back and abdomen, the ones that act like a natural corset for our spine, begin to weaken if we don't consciously engage them. Years of sitting at a desk or in a favorite armchair train our bodies to fold inward. But the physical part is only half the story. The unspoken message your posture sends is even more powerful. It broadcasts, without a single word, I am tired. I am weak. I am not as engaged as I once was. It's an invitation for others to treat you as more fragile than you are. I saw this with a patient of mine, David. He was a construction foreman for 40 years, a man whose presence alone commanded respect. He stood tall. But after retirement, the slump began. And his family, with the best intentions, started talking to him more gently, as if he were fragile. They stopped asking his opinion on big household repairs. David felt this shift deeply. He wasn't fragile. His posture was simply telling the wrong story. Social psychology research has shown us that simply standing tall can decrease the stress hormone cortisol and increase hormones linked to confidence. So please, start today. Here is the simple, free action. Every single time you walk through a doorway, imagine a string is gently pulling the very top of your head toward the ceiling. Pull your shoulders back, just for 3 seconds. Let every doorway in your home become a gentle reminder to stand in your power. Now, let's talk about our voice. Number 2. Speaking too loudly. This is an incredibly sensitive topic, because it almost always happens without us realizing it. You're at a bustling family dinner, sharing a wonderful story, but you notice that conversations at the other end of the table have paused. It's a subtle, awkward moment. The scientific term for age-related hearing loss is presbycusis, and it's a gradual process. It often affects our ability to hear higher frequency sounds first, but it also impacts how we perceive the volume of our own voice. You simply can't hear yourself as clearly, so your brain naturally tells you to turn up the volume. This is a perfectly normal biological adjustment, but it can have an unintended social consequence. For others, especially younger people or those sensitive to noise, it can feel a bit overwhelming, making a warm conversation feel more like a tense lecture. People may unconsciously take a small step back, creating distance where you want connection. I remember a lovely lady, let's call her Aunt Carol. She was the heart and soul of every family reunion, full of the most wonderful stories. But as years went by, her storytelling voice grew louder and louder. The family loved her dearly, but the younger grandkids started to shy away from her one-on-one. The love was still there, but the sense of calm, intimate connection was fading. This is not about vanity. It's about maintaining the warmth of your relationships. The solution is twofold and very straightforward. First, I gently encourage everyone over 65 to get a baseline hearing check. It's a simple act of self-care, no different than checking your blood pressure. Second, before you speak in a group, take one conscious breath and make a decision to speak as if you're talking to someone sitting just 2 feet away from you, not across the room. It's a small adjustment that makes a world of difference, drawing people in, closer to you and your words. If you find this advice helpful, please consider commenting with the word "listen" below. Next, let's discuss something we do every morning. Number 3. Dressing without care. This isn't about fashion or expensive brands. This is about the message sent by the faded polo shirt with the slightly frayed collar, or the comfortable sweatpants that have seen better days. After a lifetime of dressing for work, for occasions, for others, it's so easy to fall into a routine of pure comfort in retirement. And while comfort is a wonderful thing, when it tips into neglect, it sends a powerful, unintentional signal to the world, and more importantly, to yourself. That signal is, I've stopped trying. There's a fascinating concept in psychology called enclothed cognition, which proves that the clothes we wear directly influence our mood and our performance. When you dress in a way that feels sloppy, you are more likely to feel sluggish and less confident. I had a patient, Eleanor, a retired teacher who had lost much of her spark after her husband passed. Her wardrobe had become a collection of old, shapeless clothes. She told me she felt invisible. I didn't prescribe a pill. My prescription was this: for 1 week every morning, I want you to take just 5 minutes to pick out a clean, ironed blouse and a pair of slacks that fit well. That was it. By the end of the week, she walked into my office with her head held higher. She said, "I feel like myself again. People are making eye contact with me at the grocery store." Her circumstances hadn't changed, but her presentation had, and it reminded her of the dignified, capable woman she had always been. So, the solution isn't to buy a new wardrobe. It's the 5-minute rule. Just dedicate 5 minutes each morning to choosing an outfit that says, "I respect myself." It's a small investment in your own dignity. From how we look, let's move to what we say. Number 4. Repeating stories. We all have our greatest hits, don't we? The story of the legendary fish that got away, the tale of how you met your spouse, the hilarious mishap from a family vacation in the 70s. These stories are the beautiful threads of our life's tapestry, and sharing them is how we pass on our legacy. The problem doesn't lie in the stories themselves, but in their frequency. As we get older, there can be a slight decline in short-term memory, which might make us forget that we've already told a story to a particular audience. But the deeper reason is that these memories represent a time of great meaning and comfort for us, and revisiting them feels good. However, for the listener, hearing the same story for the 10th time can trigger a polite, but distant, nod. They love you, but they have tuned out. It can unintentionally make you seem as if you are stuck in the past, unable to create new memories or engage with the present. Think of Grandpa Mike, who captivates the whole family the first time he tells his story about his first car. But by the 5th Thanksgiving telling, the teenagers are subtly checking their phones under the table. They're not being disrespectful. Their brains have simply flagged the story as heard before. The solution here is not to stop telling your treasured stories. Instead, it's to add a new layer of awareness. You can gracefully acknowledge it with a bit of humor. Try saying something like, I know you've probably all heard this one, but it still makes me smile. This simple act brings everyone in on the moment, turning it from a monologue into a shared experience. Or try a new tactic. After your story, turn to your kids or grandkids and ask, "What's a story from your own life that this reminds you of?" That one question brilliantly bridges the past with the present and transforms you from a repeater into a connector. Now, for a habit that is often the most overlooked. Number 5. Ignoring personal appearance. This is not about vanity. It's about vitality. I'm talking about the small details: neatly trimmed fingernails, hair that has been combed, a clean shave, or a tidy beard. These small acts of grooming are a powerful form of nonverbal communication. They signal to the world that you are still engaged, you have energy, and you care about yourself. The primary reason we might let these things slide is simple. We get tired, or we start to think, "Who am I trying to impress?" But the person you are impressing is yourself. Neglecting these details can send a silent and often inaccurate message to your loved ones. They might see an unshaven face or unkempt hair, and their minds don't think relaxed. They think, "Is Dad feeling okay? Is Mom struggling to keep up?" It can plant a seed of worry where none is needed. In my years of practice, I have consistently observed a direct link between a patient's self-care and their overall morale. It's a feedback loop. When you take a few moments to present yourself well, you feel better internally. That inner feeling then projects outward, and people respond to that energy. It's the difference between looking like you've given up and looking like you're ready for the day. I had a patient, a wonderful gentleman, who, after his wife died, stopped shaving regularly. He said it didn't seem to matter. His daughter confessed to me that she was worried he was deeply depressed. We talked, and he agreed to a simple experiment: get back to his morning shave, just like he always had. It was a small thing, but that ritual restored a piece of his old identity. It was a signal to himself and to his daughter that he was still here. He was still fighting. So, make it part of your routine. Just like brushing your teeth. It's a 5-minute declaration that you matter. Let's discuss another conversational habit that can create distance. Number 6. Talking too much about illness. As we get older, our health naturally becomes a more central part of our daily lives. Doctor's appointments, new medications, and an aching knee. These are our realities. It is perfectly normal and healthy to share these challenges with friends and family to get support. But it becomes a problem when these topics dominate every single conversation. I sometimes refer to this as the organ recital, a detailed report of every ache, pain, and medical test. The psychological reason for this is a deep need for validation and empathy. We want others to understand what we're going through. The root cause is that health issues simply take up more of our mental and physical space. The unintended consequence, however, is that it can be emotionally draining for the listener. It can inadvertently redefine you in their eyes, from a multifaceted person into a collection of ailments. It can, very quietly, push people away because they feel helpless or simply overwhelmed. Imagine two old friends meeting for coffee. One asks, "How have you been?" If the next 20 minutes are an uninterrupted monologue about joint pain and medication side effects, the other friend leaves the meeting feeling heavy and perhaps a little less likely to suggest getting together again soon. They care, but the friendship has become a caretaking session. The solution is not to hide your struggles, but to find balance. I recommend the 2-for-1 rule to my patients. For every one health complaint you share, make a conscious effort to share 2 other things that are positive or neutral. Talk about the beautiful bird you saw on your walk, ask a thoughtful question about their life, or share a funny thing you saw on television. This simple rule keeps the conversation balanced. It reminds the other person, and yourself, of the whole, vibrant person you are beyond any diagnosis. If you agree that balance is key, please share the word balance in the comments. This next one is about adapting to a changing world. Number 7. Ignoring modern etiquette. The world has changed more in the last 30 years than perhaps any 30 years before it. Social norms, communication styles, and what is considered acceptable conversation have all evolved. A joke that was perfectly fine and even hilarious at a dinner party in 1985 might be considered offensive or just plain confusing today. Similarly, questions that were once common icebreakers, like asking a young person, So, when are you going to get married? Or, why don't you have children yet? Are now often seen as intrusive and deeply personal. This isn't about being politically correct in a negative way. It's about being socially aware and showing wisdom. The reason we sometimes miss these shifts is that our own social habits were formed and solidified in a different era. We are operating from an old rule book. When we unknowingly break a modern rule of etiquette, it can create an awkward distance, particularly with younger generations. They may see you as out of touch, which can prevent them from sharing their lives with you as openly as they might want to. For instance, asking a young couple how much they paid for their new house used to be a way of talking about the market. Today, it's often viewed as a rude question about personal finances. They won't tell you you've made them uncomfortable. They will simply become more guarded in the future. The solution isn't to walk on eggshells. It's to shift from asking specific, personal questions to asking broad, open-ended ones. Instead of, "Are you dating anyone?" Try, "What's been the most exciting part of your life lately?" Instead of a joke you've told for 40 years, try sharing a genuinely funny observation from your own day. This shows that you are not just wise from your years of experience, but you are also wise enough to keep learning and adapting. It makes you a timeless conversationalist, someone that people of all ages want to talk to. And this leads perfectly into our 8th point. Number 8. Talking without listening. A great conversation is like a game of catch. One person gently tosses the ball, the other catches it, and then tosses it back. But sometimes, as we accumulate a lifetime of stories, wisdom, and opinions, we forget to wait for the return throw. We just keep tossing ball after ball. We talk to people, not with them. The science behind this is fascinating. When we talk, our brains can release a little bit of dopamine, the feel-good chemical. It literally feels rewarding to share our thoughts. The core reason it becomes more common with age is that we genuinely have so much experience we want to impart. We want to help our children and grandchildren avoid the mistakes we made. But when we dominate a conversation, no matter how good our intentions are, the other person is left with one overriding feeling. They don't feel heard. They feel like an audience member, not a participant. It is perhaps the fastest way to make someone you love feel unimportant. This was the core issue for John, the retired engineer I mentioned at the beginning. He would ask his son a question, but before his son could finish a sentence, John would jump in with a story from his own past that he thought was relevant. He was trying to connect, but his son only felt interrupted and dismissed. The solution requires conscious practice. I call it the rule of the pause. After you've made a point or told a story, stop. Physically stop talking. Take a silent count to 3 in your head. Then, ask a question that proves you were listening. A question like, "So how did that make you feel?" Or, "What did you end up doing then?" This small, intentional pause transfers the power in the conversation back to the other person. It is the single most effective way to make someone feel seen, valued, and deeply connected to you. Finally, we arrive at the habit that ties all the others together. Number 9. Overlooking small details. This is the habit I mentioned at the beginning, the one that can have a profound impact on how your family perceives your capability. I'm talking about the wrinkled shirt collar, the small food stain on your sweater that you didn't notice, the shoes that are perpetually scuffed. Individually, these details are completely insignificant. A tiny stain means nothing, but collectively, they paint a picture. Psychologists call this the halo effect, where one small negative trait can cast a shadow over how everything else about you is perceived. The reasons these details slip by are practical. Our eyesight might not be as sharp as it once was, or we're simply focused on bigger things. But to an adult child who is already worried about their aging parent, these small signs of neglect can be misinterpreted. They don't see a wrinkled shirt. They see a potential sign that mom or dad is struggling to manage, that they're overwhelmed. This can be the tipping point that makes them start to think they need to step in and take more control. This is not about being perfect. It is about being present. It's about showing the world and your family that you are still in command of your life and your surroundings. It signals vitality and attention to detail, which translates in their minds to an ability to manage your medications, your finances, and your safety. I've seen this time and again in my practice. A family's concern about a parent's independence is often triggered not by one big event, but by an accumulation of these tiny, overlooked details. The solution is the 60-second scan. Before you leave your home, just stand in front of a mirror for 1 full minute. Do a quick scan from head to toe. Is there a stray hair? A small stain? A quick wipe of a shoe or a change of a shirt can completely alter the message you send. It's the final piece of the puzzle, a small act of self-respect that tells everyone you are still here, still sharp, and still very much in charge. Let's return, for a moment, to John, the gentleman I mentioned at the beginning of our time together. He was the brilliant engineer who felt his own family was starting to treat him as if he were invisible. The change for him didn't come from a new medication or a major life event. It started with one tiny commitment. He decided to practice standing taller every time he walked through a doorway. That was it. From there, he started paying attention to the other small signals. He made a point to listen more during conversations, to pause before sharing his own stories. And something truly remarkable began to happen. His children started asking for his advice again, not just about small things, but about their careers, their finances. The family dinners became more vibrant, filled with real conversation instead of polite deference. John didn't change who he was. He was always that sharp, capable man. He simply changed the small signals he was sending out, and in doing so, he reminded everyone of the powerful presence that had been there all along. Please, remember that the 9 habits we've discussed today are not criticisms. They are not judgments. Think of them as tools of empowerment. Your dignity, your strength, and your connection to the people you love are not defined by grand, heroic acts. They are forged in the quiet, intentional choices you make every single day. The strength is in the small things. As we wrap up, we've explored 9 critical habits that can truly transform our golden years. But knowledge is only powerful when we put it into action. So now, I have one important question for you. What is the one commitment you are making to yourself after watching this video? It could be as simple as, I will stand a little taller tomorrow morning, or I will practice the rule of the pause in my next conversation. Please share your personal commitment in the comments below. Writing it down makes it a promise, and your promise can inspire hundreds of others in our community to take that first brave step. And if you found real value and inspiration in our time together, please show your support by giving this video a like. It truly helps more people who need this message find their way here. To ensure you continue on this journey with us, and never miss another video full of life-changing wisdom, hit that subscribe button. It's more than just subscribing. It's joining a community dedicated to living our best lives, together. Finally, think of one person in your life who needs to hear this message today, and please, share it with them. You might just change their life in a way you never expected. Thank you for spending your valuable time with me. Stay healthy, stay wise, and I'll see you in the next video.